referral strategies such as the deferred sales trust is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swartz. In each episode, I am joined by some of the best real estate minds, financial minds, and wealth advisors in the world where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax referral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He's a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and mentor. He is the managing partner of Harborside Partners, a real estate syndication firm, and has been actively investing in multifamily since 2006. He also hosts the Global Investors podcast, where he interviews professionals about investing in the U.S. real estate. He's been a full-time real estate investor. He currently invests in over 250 multifamily units across 3 states. And he grew up managing multifamily commercial properties with his father, so he has lots of wisdom to share with us. And so please welcome to the show with me, Charles Carillo. Hey, Charles, how you doing?
Great, Brett. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Would you give our listeners just a little bit more about your background and your current focus?
Yeah, so I have been a multifamily investor since 2006, and we focus on value-add multifamily, and we do syndication, which is the majority of our acquisitions at this point in time. And we also work with some smaller properties, but it's few and far between when we find a good deal for something that we'll close on ourselves. When we're looking for properties and when we're working with investors, we work with a lot of international investors, hence the Global Investors podcast that I host. We work with third-party managers. We're looking for properties where we can add value to them. We're looking in gentrification or gentrifying areas throughout mainly the Southeast United States. And our main focus is where I'm located is in Florida, and we have a few markets there, but we've also started to expand out of Florida. So yeah, that's kind of where we are now, and a little bit on myself.
Excellent. That's fantastic. And so as multifamily syndicator, sometimes, or even as an investor, sometimes it can be frustrating with capital gains tax deferral. And part of our show is finding solutions and creative ways that professionals like yourself are doing that. But I'm curious, what's the biggest frustration you've had when it comes to capital gains tax referral options?
There's 2 parts. One of them, when we're doing syndications and we have someone that comes to us and says, I'm selling this asset and I want to put it into one of your syndications or work with you. It's a very complex situation. It's called a tenant in common. I'm not going to, you can Google that and go down that rabbit hole, but it really is, it adds a whole nother level of complexity to the whole deal. And it makes it much more difficult to complete. And then with our smaller deals, when we're talking to individual landlords, I'd say we're finding a problem with, in an up market, it's going to be much harder to identify that property, especially with how fast multifamily is going off the market right now, how fast it sells. It's very difficult to identify properties and then actually close on those properties. So for someone that's selling, for someone that's purchasing that will work with a seller, if you can go direct to the seller, it's actually a plus for them. But someone that's selling the property, it's much more difficult to actually get a top of the market, a top price, full retail price, let's say, for their property, because they have to find a buyer that will actually work with them. And hey, we're closing now. And then if they have a portfolio and they're doing one property at a time, it can be a very painstaking process.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of why we started our company, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, because we were doing multifamily brokerage at Marcus & Millichap. And I looked around and we saw so many people overpaying, being forced to do forced to buy properties. They call it a shotgun wedding, right? Within 45 days, you're like, hey, you want to get married? Okay, we're married. You know what I mean? And it's going real fast. And sometimes you can make poor decisions, especially if you're selling high and buying higher 180 days later. And to your first point, absolutely, with the syndications, right? It's often most syndicators that we meet before they meet us, they just say no to all this 1031 money because it's too complicated. It's too small of deals. Unless they get this real unicorn that has $2 or $3 million that bought the place, then they'll go through the brain surgery of carving that out. We actually just closed 2 deals, one with Ashcraft Capital and Joe Fairless, and then one with Brian Burke with his multifamily fund. And we used the deferred sales trust instead of the 1031 tick, which is a way simplified form of doing this because it's not a 1031. And that was very successful. We could talk more about that offline. But so for those who are listening, we do have a solution for that, and it's called the deferred sales trust. It's pretty amazing. But that being said, if folks want to, especially in Florida, by the way, I was just in Clearwater, and then I was just in Tampa for the Super Bowl before everything hit the fan, and I feel really good that you guys were able to have that. I couldn't imagine not having the Super Bowl. It was such an amazing experience. But that being said, what part of Florida are you in? And if folks want to get connected with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so I'm located currently in St. Petersburg, Florida. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, charlescarillo.com. And if you're interested in actively or passively investing in real estate, let's set up a 30-minute call. And we can kind of go over whatever questions you have and how you can get started.
Beautiful. Love that. Hey, so reach out to Charles. And then next time I'm in Florida, Charles, I'm going to come find you, right? That St. Petersburg, that's near...
right across the bay from Tampa.
Okay, got it. Okay, there it is. All right, so still getting my geography here out here in California. Well, thanks so much for everyone for listening, and thanks, Charles, for being on the show. By the way, we're going to dive into the full show with Charles, so look for that to be released soon on iTunes and all of the other major places.